Catch this. All right, we are live, folks. Hey, guys, I want to welcome everybody here. I've got our good brother, Brother Nick from Australia, and I know we have a strong following from Australia. Let me catch this, guys. It's about to kick on, and when I do, I'll finish my opening salvo. We got our brother Nick here. We just spoke again the other day, and he's. I've been supposed to pull him onto the live stream for about 2 months, but you guys, you know how I am. I'm just a scatterbrain when it comes to this stuff. But we finally have Brother Nick here. We support and love our brothers and sisters in Australia who are struggling with one of the strongest lockdowns by corporate standards, right? And of course, this goes into the Strong City Initiative, the United Nations Agenda 2021. Fear tactics used to make living men and women succumb to corporate status. But with that opening, I'm going to kick it over to our brother Nick. Introduce yourself, Brother Nick, and tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, well, look, my name's Nick. I have an interest in very similar things to Brandon, and I've been studying law for a little while. And when I studying law, not like a university level, but just looking at the biblical connections. I have a YouTube channel called John 8. I'll put it in the chat, and it's not fully finished. And I have a website as well. I'm just starting to learn how to communicate with people on the over the internet, because I'm not very tech savvy. And that's pretty much. Look, I want to have a good chat with you guys, and I want to have some edification, and I enjoy learning. Brandon's channel is the only channel that I watch like religiously, so I'm not a religious fan. But if there is anything that's religious, it's that I do every time that Brandon does a video, I watch it, and I usually listen to it while I take the dog for a walk, and I put my headphones in, and then I watch it again so I can get visual. Oh.
Well, you're not the only one, because I listened to it twice myself because I critique every mistake that I made. I made a simple one last week where I said you should file file this paperwork at the county clerk, right? And I should have said you record. But either way, once you're at this level, and I'll discuss this, and then I'm gonna kick it back to you. And once you're at this level, so you recognize what the beast kingdom is, and then you start discovering yourself, and this spiritual battle that we're in, right? And the wickedness that's in high places, and then you start discovering who you are, and then once you discover who you are, you actually finally take the stand. You say, okay, I'm going to take that leap of faith, and I'm going to trust in the Father to catch me when I jump out here and test this knowledge that I've gained. And then once you do that for the first time, you gain a little confidence, right? But that's when it's set in stone, when you shake off the fear. Hey, and I've told people this: that cave you're afraid to go in holds the treasure that you seek. And you must face everything that fear puts fear in your heart. And last week you called me, and we were talking about spiritual things instead of the law. And I've been talking about spiritual things much more lately, because I think that is where the most important meat is. Because if you don't know who you are, you can know all the common law, you can know all the lex mercatoria, you can know everything you want to know, but you're still not going to have that faith to stand in the face of your enemy. What do you have to say about that, Nick?
Well, it comes down to whether or not you really believe. First you got to know what do I believe? What do I really believe? And then have integrity to follow and do what you know is true. It's like those legal maxims, Truth is expressed in the form of an affidavit. An unrebutted affidavit stands as truth. So a claim, and if you look at the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, Lucifer makes a claim, and it's rebutted by the Almighty Creator. And so truth isn't really set we're a part of it. So truth is truth, but if you don't rebut a claim that's made by someone, you're agreeing to the lie. So firstly, you've got to know what you really believe. Now, I started going to church when I was 14, and then I went to another church when I was about 16, and I went to another church when I was in the 20s, and I just kept going to different churches, and I started to learn different things. But I never, like you read your Bible and it tells you these amazing things, but I wasn't experiencing the church. And I'm not saying other people don't, I just wasn't. So I started to look outside of it and just still looking at the Bible, but looking outside of like the church culture. And then I realized I was being lied to about a lot of things, or I was being told things that weren't true, because I could find really clear examples in Scripture that contradicted like the church religion. So then I would ask people in these churches in the hierarchy, this, you do this. It seems to be in conflict. And what ended up happening was I found that these people that were meant to be devout believers weren't really. They were more interested in their religion than they were than the truth. So that was got me sort of looking outside of the churches and just focusing on truth. And I had to work out to move forward, what do I actually know is true, so that I can build my foundation of truth? Because I have all these things I've been brought up in these churches believing is true, but now I'm not sure about all of those things. But there was a couple of things I knew for sure. I knew that the Word of God was that book. I knew that there was, Yeshua Messiah was, who that book claims he is. I knew who he was. I knew that I had faith in heaven. I knew these things. So then everything else that I had to connect to that, and that's how I've sort of I've made this new journey where I've become like a new man, because I literally had to let go of all those things that I used to believe and that I'd memorized, and I had to be open to the fact that I might be wrong about all those. I don't know. I'm not sure. And you have to be humble. And then I started to learn about law, because I saw a video on the straw man. Just, you learn about the straw man, you think, oh, this is fascinating stuff. And I had an interest in it. I think some people have a real interest in truth, but there's others that maybe don't care that much. They're just happy to live their lives. And we see that now when you look at the state of affairs, say I think all over the world, but definitely in Victoria, you've got people just wearing their masks and they're just doing what they're told, and they're happy to be fed and clothed and taken care of and get that government money. They're not really that interested to know what's right and wrong and what the truth is. But then there's the other school of thought, which is, no, I want to know what's right and what's true, and I want to live by that, and I want something that's a bit more meaningful. So anyway, that started me on the law direction of learning. And it's interesting. I was doing a bit of study online, and I went to the shopping center, what you call the mall, and I had this very strange man came up and spoke to me, and he was talking about law, and he's talking about the straw man. And most people, if they had have seen this bloke, would have thought he was just some weirdo. He looked like a bum on the street that was homeless. But I listened to what he had to say, and actually, this man, as odd and strange as he appeared, he had some really good information, and he actually gave me a card to this group that teaches law, and the group was called the Community Law Research Group. So then I pursued that. I went to that group, and there was lots of people learning about, it was like the Constitution. So I started learning about the Constitution, and then later on Lex Mercatoria, then connecting it to the Bible, learning about jurisdictions, and this is where it's led me today. And I'm here with you and learning a lot of the stuff from you, and now I look for the Bible verses to And I think that knowing the Bible's really helped, because if you learn a principle or a concept, and then you can attach it to those Bible verses to a specific, say it's like even a biblical maxim, right? You've got, he who endures to the end shall be saved, which is the legal maxim. He who leaves the battlefield first loses by default. Because I memorized the Bible verses for all those years, then it's easy to remember those maxims because I know the Bible verses. So there's already something implanted in my brain. So it made learning law really easy, only because I'd done all of that work all those years learning the Bible.
Yeah, well, I'm going to state unequivocally, right? I'll read Matthew 12:45. And this is what we all go through. We don't recognize it at the time. We go through the Bible. I've always said the Bible has 7 layers of interpretation, right? 7 levels, but also 7 states that you go through, right? And I remember the worst state that I went to. Let me read Matthew 12:45, and then I'll expound on this. Then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits. You know what the number 7's about, more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state, and of course we talk about this over and over, the importance of the simple word state, right? Your status, what you stand, your actual constitution, what makes you who you are, the first cause and substance, which is the consciousness and awareness. The last state of that man is worse than the first. And what you have is the inability, when you first wake up, the inability to take in the overall overarching breadth of the deception. And what happens, you have to go through all, and people talk about it. You have the children's book, Alice in Wonderland, because you keep going down the rabbit holes, right? And as you go down the rabbit holes, you discover who you are. And of course, this is about the journey within, right? Because the journey within manifests without, and all these ideas, all these different ideas. But it's the truth, because you can only see the world at your present knowledge level. And Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed from a lack of knowledge. And the depth to that, how true that is, can only become known to you once you take in more knowledge. And it's mind blowing to me at this stage in my life, where I'm 14 years. Let's see, what am I, 40? Yeah, I'm 40. I started reading the Sacred Geometry book when I was 27 years old. That's the book that opened up my eyes, started down this pathway. But I read that book 13, 14 years ago, and it's amazing to me all the different stages. And I look back when I first picked up the Bible. Hey, man, I was a tyrant. I took the Bible, I went beating my wife in the head with it. You're going to burn in hell. You're going all the way straight to hell, you sinner. But you have to go through that state too. You have to go through these stages. You have to go through them to become, and I'll read this quote. I put it in the chat earlier. Hold on. What did I do with it? It's from Van Gogh. We must always change. We must always renew. We rejuvenate ourselves. Otherwise, we harden. And I put that in the study this week. Each day is every day that we wake up is another day seeking His face. And seeking His face is seeking wisdom and understanding. And I hope people recognize and understand that.
Well, I had a chat with a family member a while ago, and we had a look at. We were just on Facebook. He was on Facebook. We were having a discussion about things that are happening in the world, and I was showing him, some things. I said, look, this is what people's, their projection of their lives is, and you see people that have you can see the difference between people, the way they project on these social media filters, right? So, well, this one's got, they're showing off their nice house and their holiday and how they're, but all of that's meaningless. If you have a nice house and a nice stuff, and you're respected by your peers, and but you're still a slave because you don't know who you are, because that means your mind's been overcome. You've been lied to, and you don't believe it. So you spend your life oh, look, I've got a good education, I've got my degrees, I have my holiday house, I have my holiday, people respect me, then I die. That's a meaningless life. What's the purpose of that? There's not much meaning to that. But if you go through the struggle and you go through and you be a witness, your blood's the affidavit, your life is the affidavit of truth. If you become the witness of the truth, especially in this world, there's so many big things that you can do because it's such an extreme time in history where people are so deluded. It's the thing of the winter tears, the clay and the merry clay and the iron, the deluded and the deluded. When you have all this opportunity to be either trodden over by the feet of men, or to be the salt that hasn't lost its savor. So we've got to. I want to be the salt that hasn't lost its savor, but I see people that are choosing to be the salt that has lost its savor, and they let people walk all over them. When I say people, I mean the corporate officers, the police, the government, and they walk all over them. And when you realize that that's not what life's about, and you're not focused on the here and now, you're focused on the next part. I truly believe that God lives, and I've had my experience and my witness, and because of that, that's why I do the things I do. Now, has that made me more friends? I think it has made me more real friends, but I've also lost a lot of friends because of that. But that's what we know, that it's the dividing of the wheat and the tares. We know that the people are separating, and the persecution is coming, but that's okay. I don't mind that, because I know if that's happening, then I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. So my message has always been to people, don't be compliant. Do what you know is right. Because even if you do something wrong, if you truly believe it's right, morally the implications and the judgment's not there, because you thought you were doing your best. But if you know something's wrong and you do it, well, then there's a moral implication there, because you've chosen to do something that you know is wrong. Always do what you know is right, and for the most part, you're going to be right, because we have the light in us. We have a conscience, and we do know deep down who we are. We just get a little bit confused about those things, because we're bombarded constantly by psychological warfare, and whether it be through the media, whether it be through people who have been overcome through the media who talk to you. I mean, I listen to the conversations people have. I have a gym, and I hear people that talk about a lot of these things. When they have different ideas, they think, the government's doing a good job, or the government's doing this, and you have a discussion. This is how you find out who they are. When you ask questions, when you expose that the government isn't in it for their best interests, and you say things like, the government, did they not say this, but then do this? And then in the end they go, a lot of them will say, yeah, you might be right. Okay, so there's some honor and integrity in that man. But others will go, no, and they just won't hear it. So you know what? Those ones that don't want to hear, you can't. There's not much you can do. But he told us to go out and to preach the gospel of peace, and we've got to do that, as hard as it is. And I had this discussion with another friend. He said he's a real good man. This is a real good friend of mine. He said, Nick, I'm so angry at these police. I'm so angry at what they're doing. I just want to. He just wants to get violent with them. He's so angry. And I said that's. First I said, maybe that's not a good feeling to have. But then I thought about it, and I thought, hang on, when was the one time the Messiah became angry? It's when they had money changers in the temple, which is exactly what it is when the police are committing these crimes, because they're doing it because it's their job. That's only my job, right? I'm doing my job. That's a money changer in your temple, because you're selling this, your decision making for the money, right? So it's literally what it is. And then I said to him, you know what? I think you're justified in being angry, and then I feel like I'm justified in being a bit angry about that too.
Yes. And I want to expound on this, because what we get to, this is another stage, right? And I'll just read Acts 20. While you were talking, I was thinking about Acts 28:31, and what this is the separation of those wheats and the tares. And I'll speak from my point of view and my experience during this last 7 months, preaching the kingdom of God and teaching those things which concern the Lord Jesus Christ with all confidence. And this next part, this quantifies this statement: no man forbidding him. You know, no man will get in my way and stop me from doing what's right. So I've reached a point in my life and my growth where what's right means more to me than any material substance in the world. Going against my conscience and I'm not claiming perfection or anything like that. I'm still a fallible man, folks, but nobody beats Brandon's butt worse than Brandon when I make a mistake. And when I do stuff, and I want to talk about how this coronavirus and this lockdown and the pressure that it's put on men. There's been men that you thought were strong men that have been bound through fear. There was men that you thought were weak that have budded forth and come through and shown you that they're strong men. And the same thing for women. And during this coronavirus, and all the friends that I've lost, and all the friends that I thought were real close friends who have decided they don't want to move forward, may have been quantity, but the quality that I've picked up along the way means so much more than the quantity. And what I'm noticing now is that so the mask issue, whether it was a big conquering divide, right? The whole mask issue itself. And so now what I find myself having trouble with, and a matter of fact, I prayed about it today about a particular issue with someone very close to me, is to stop wishing that everybody around me knew as much as I did or had the courage or strength, and I start praying for that courage and strength to come to them. Now, every man and woman's got to pick it up and find it for themselves, but our prayers can assist them. But I know exactly what you're talking about in this particular realm, and it's amazing to me how in one of the most stressful times in the world, and one of my YouTube friends I lost over this deal. And I've told people from the get-go, the onset of this deal, do never let these people sit up here. I don't read the news. I don't even read the news. The most news I saw last week was what you sent me that's why I don't watch the news, because we watched what you sent me the other day proved my point exactly. You can't trust anything on a newspaper article. You can't trust anything on a video. Jennifer, one of my subscribers, sent me today a photoshopped picture of Black Lives Matters march at Southern Methodist University. It was completely falsified. And that's the point why I don't read anything. I don't let anything sit up in my temple. But yeah, I agree with you. And it's a sad fact, but I'm going to focus on preaching the kingdom, because every time I do that, I get blessed on the backside.
Yeah, and I think that this, for those that are seeing it, we know that it's coming. Okay, this is the dividing. I think it's very clear that is finding out who's who. You know, it's a huge test. Are you going to go with the beast? Are you going to worship them? Are you going to follow them again? Are you going to be scared to lose your business and your livelihood? You know, and bow down to it, or are you going to do what's right no matter what? And that's what we used to call the principle of the thing. You know, it used to be the truth. You know, you wouldn't. You know, it's the principle of the. You know, when people you know, they sell out because it just got too hard. You know, this is getting too hard. You know, I tried. I'm against it, but I'm still going to go along with it just because it's too hard. Well, then you become the second witness to the fact or to the lie, right? So you become the second witness to the lie, which means you're a liar. So en masse, there's huge numbers of people that are giving their dominion and their authority to this beast, because obviously we were given dominion. If you believe God's word is truth, then you know that you have dominion. So when you go along with something and bow down to it, you're getting, which means they, and I mean, obviously that's the person thing. The person, the man. The government can't be greater than the man or the woman. So what they do is they offer us something to put ourselves lower. That's the real transaction. It's hey, we will give you these benefits. Just sign here, and you don't realise that you're making a declaration that you are less than government. So they've just extorted your dominion from you, right? And that's what woke me up, was when I discovered that, and I wanted to learn more about law, and I went to a number of different places, and ultimately, if I had have just realised that reading the Bible properly would have given me all the knowledge that I needed, but I didn't know how to read the Bible properly. I'd memorized all these Bible verses. I studied the Bible diligently, but I didn't know what a lot of it meant, because you don't learn that stuff. I mean, I remember learning at church that render to Caesar the things of the Caesars. See, you're meant to pay tax. And then I realized later on, well, hang on a minute. Income tax is a taxation on your labor.
Yeah.
And
it's not Caesar.
The labor of your body and mind. So if my mind and body belongs to God, and I can't serve two masters, how can I give it to Caesar? And then I have a friend, and he's actually and he's done some research. He said that the Vatican, who owns the AO, which is our taxation department, and they own the IRS, and actually our taxation department is a subsidiary company to the IRS, so you know. And he told me, he said, Nick, the Vatican, all those cardinals, they're all direct line ancestors to the Caesars. And I went, really? I said, so when people are paying tax, they're still paying the Caesar. I said, yeah, it's the same people. It's the same family.
That's right.
And then you read, well, no, you're not, that you're the temple of the Holy Spirit, which temple you are. You were bought with a price. You are not your own. Well, if I'm not my own and I'm bought with a price, how can I give what doesn't belong to me to Caesar? I can't do that. But they convince people that they have to, or you just have to do it. If you hold your ground, like I haven't paid tax for years, and I do my very best to help others. If you just hold your ground on it, I'm not paying you because I can't pay you. You provide, you do the conditional acceptance thing. Look, if you can provide evidence that, I am obliged to pay you tax, then, so be it. But I don't believe I am. I'm meant to serve God with all my heart, which is your will, your might, which is your body, your mind, right? If I'm meant to serve God, why are you telling me I need to use my mind and my might to serve Caesar? It's pretty clear in there. Obviously people come back to that Bible verse in Romans, be subject to the rule, to the rules, and it's like, well, if that's the case, then how come they were killing the Christian people for not bowing down to and sprinkling incense to Caesar? It was because, there's a point at which when the law is inconsistent with God's law, then you don't follow man's law. You can follow man's law if it's still under God's law, but when it goes completely against, then you've got to say, sorry, I can't in good conscience do that because your organisation, because they're all organisations, they're all big corporations, these governments. Your thing is against God. I'm not going to go with you. I'm going to go with God. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. You look at the way these lawyers learn law, and all these statutes and acts. I mean, there's like 60 million acts in the US alone. No one can possibly know all those acts. They say that ignorance of the law. What's the maxim? Ignorance of the law does not
excuse. Ignorance of the law does not excuse you.
Exactly right. Well, hang on. So if the statutes are all these statutes of law that if that's the case, then how come you've made 60 million and you've made so many that it's impossible for any man to possibly? You've made it impossible. There's another maxim of law. It's impossible to do what is impossible to do. You cannot do that which is impossible, right? It's like there was we just had a declaration from our premier, which is like the governor, saying that, what the new rules were going to be. It was a 72-page document written in legalese. right? So they've written this document in legalese, knowing that people don't understand legalese or comprehend it, but they do it anyway, right? Well, the argument there is you've written a 72-page document in a different language, and you want me and you expect me to follow it. How can I possibly follow something when it's written in a different language? If you wrote it in Hebrew, that wouldn't be equitable and fair. That wouldn't be honest. So that's the big. And then obviously they're shutting businesses down and destroying businesses, destroying people's lives. Restricting people's ability to see their loved ones and their families. They're telling the churches they have to shut down, and the people can't gather and congregate. So they're telling them they have to forsake the fellowship, which is completely anti-scripture. But they're not accepting any liability either. So they're not saying, look, we're going to pay you for all your losses that you have by following our directives. No, they're not accepting liability. And so I always say that to the police. Like, I've been arrested a number of times for not wearing a mask. I was arrested for not wearing a mask, believe it or not, in our state. That's what they're doing. They're arresting people for not wearing masks. And when you ask them, what crime have I committed? And they say, one of my mates was arrested. And he asked what crime he'd committed. And the officer said, this is his explanation, right? It's a law. It's all over the media. So he didn't explain to him what he just said. It's all over the media. That's how bad it is over here. And because the police have special powers now, so what they've done, we've got police powers, and now we've got a state of disaster, and we're going to give these police officers powers as health officers as well. So they've got health officer powers and they've got police powers. So I say to the police, well, so you're a authorized health officer? And they say, yes. Did you have special training for that? And they say, what do you mean? Well, I think if you were to become a health officer, you would have to have some training in what it is to be a health officer. It's a specific role. If I was a finance officer, say I was controlling and handling the finances for, say, some government body, I would obviously need to have some training for that. You've just said that you're a health officer now. You special training. Well, no, they haven't. They haven't received any. They've just been given the powers, but they haven't been given any. It's like, power without any perception. It's very dangerous. You give someone all this power, you don't show them how to use it equitably and fair. Well, that's going to end up being terrible. It's like you say that. The example would be, imagine a God that's all powerful that doesn't have any mercy. That would be a scary thing, right? Unfortunately, we know, and blessed we are that we have a God that has mercy and he balances mercy with justice.
Yeah, and what I'll say is that the ignorance that has been taught to us over the last 100 years or so is necessary in order for the ignorant to shield those in high positions, which is the low-level policemen, firefighters, first responders, and everything else, to continue to commit crimes against their brothers and sisters and be that buffer shield. So it's an insanely smart tactic, because now we got to take all our efforts and focus it on people that are just completely ignorant to the machinations of the system, right? And we have to actually start making these people pay for the crimes that's committed against us. That way they back up off of us. And it's a really intelligent way. I'm not gushing over it, but I'm just telling you, it's been well thought out, folks. And I want to say this. Jenny Smith said my friend was put in prison for over 14 days for not wearing a mask. Here's the thing I just want to tell you. I would spend 2 years in prison for not wearing a mask. I would spend the rest of my life in prison for not wearing a mask. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. I am not wearing a mask. It's just that simple to me. It's just that important to me to never wear a mask. And what I want to do is I want to actually expound on another topic that you were talking about too. And here's what we do, right? We ought to know with whom we deal. We ought to know with whom we contract. And in order to do that, you have to know the quality of the person with whom you contract. Otherwise, this is a maximum of law, by the way. I'm just reading here I wrote down a few notes about the principle and everything, right? So we are always allowed to contract and barter between one another. And I'm going to say the other scripture to this. You ought to know with whom you deal, right? Never strike hands with a stranger, right? That's why when you walk into the courtroom, you should know who you should start introducing yourself, finding out who you're dealing with and what you're dealing with, because you're always looking to get to the principle. The agent acting in front, the agent who's acting in front, you got to get past him. You got to notice the guy. You can't notice the office. You got to notice the guy acting in the place of the office. And that way, I'll give you a perfect example. I walked into the post office yesterday to registered mail some the good faith and notice to sue Walmart to Bentonville, Arkansas. So I walk into the post office and the lady says, "Hey, sir, you can't be in here without a mask." And I turned around politely and I said, "Ma'am, if you want to go through that conversation, we can. But inside this facility right here, Title 42, United States Code, Section 2008 states unequivocally that you cannot, by color of law, reject me from pursuing public service in a place of public accommodation. And besides that, I'm more intelligent to not cut off my circulation and the oxygen to my brain, or I'm going to be a brain dead zombie like everybody else." And she goes, "Oh, okay, whatever," But the purpose of everything in this reality is to whittle you down. So the length of time that this has been going on is to whittle us down, to keep putting that pressure, that thumb pressure on you, and force complications. Listen, guys, if the IRS sent me a bill for $18,000, I never intended on paying it. Just wasn't going to do it. I don't care. And I'll tell y'all another thing. I went to another thing that just disappeared too. I don't know if y'all remember me getting that life jacket deal. That ticket just disappeared. I called court looking to go stand in court and fight jurisdiction. The ticket disappeared. So that was another thing that happened. But this whole idea is meant to, over time, wear us down. And wear us down. That's why I focus on the spiritual, because if you get right up here, whatever happens to this, the flesh, the body, you'll make it through, because up here you're mentally strong. And that's one of those things that nobody else can do for you, is make you strong here.
Well, that's why, like what I said at the beginning, was why you have to know what you believe in. Because if you don't know what you believe in, you're not going to have confidence to follow it through. It's like I was a professional, 39 professional fights, and now I run a fight gym, so I understand the battle. Okay, the mindset of the battle. You have to be confident before you go out there in that ring or that cage. You have to be confident, knowing that you've done all your training, that you've been battle tested, that you know that you can finish the fight. Now, if you don't believe you don't know what you believe, okay, how are you going to go out to battle for the truth? You have to know what you believe is true, and that's your foundation. You hold on to that, and you don't relinquish that just because, for any reason, because you don't want the truth to be the casualty of any interaction. That's why I say that all the time. You don't want the truth to be the casualty of any interaction, because otherwise you become a liar. If you don't defend the truth to the end, okay. And I've got a friend he's a believer now, but he wasn't a believer before, but he believed all the same things much that I believed about what was right and wrong. But he just didn't know that all truth comes from a being, okay, something that has life. It isn't just because it is. There's a reason. There was a creator, there was a creation, and there was a being that actually made this, set apart what's life and what's not. Everything else outside of that is death. And now he knows that. But even those people that might not be, and you see, there's a lot of people that aren't believers. They don't even read their Bibles. They don't even read the Bible, and they're still standing up for the truth. That's because they have the truth inside them, and they know, their conscience. They value what they know to be true more than anything else, and they don't even realize that a being, there's a creator, and there's a book that they can read. A lot of people don't even realize that, but they're still standing up for the truth. But you can contrast that with those people that don't know the truth all the way to the end, but that do read their Bibles, right? So there's hypocrisy, right? That's a face. That's a personam. That's because they say they're this and they've got this. They hide behind that, but when it comes to the crunch, they don't follow it. So what's happened through this whole experience of dealing with all these people with all this power in the government, all these people that have called the hotline to call the police if you've got people at your house. We're getting all of that. All of that's happening. I've got a guy across the road from my gym. He rings the police all the time when he sees people come into my gym, and we have interactions with the police all the time, right? So they've been inflated, and what's happening is the worst parts of people are coming out, and the best parts as well. So there's people that don't even know their Bibles, but they still stand up for the truth because they know what they believe, and if they believe actually is within them, and they're going to realize that there is a creator, but they're just not there yet. But if we don't know what we believe, how can we be confident when we get challenged by the police, get threatened with prison, get threatened with fine, get threatened with our business, our friends? We're not going to. That's the most important thing, I think, fundamentally, is we do that training. We learn, what do I really believe? Okay, I know I believe God. I know what the scriptures say. I know what the government's doing is wrong. I know that there's pedophiles in our government that are being with suppression orders. I know that they're using trickery, which is not equitable. Okay, they're not following the rules of equity because they're lying to us. We have an education system where they teach people the wrong meanings and definitions to the words, and then they write up this legislation and convince us that we have to be governed by it. But we don't really understand comprehend what the word means because we've been educated in the public, even the private school system, right? It's only a very small class of people that actually learn the true definitions in our society. So that's all outside of equity, because equity, right, it's honourable. Equity is equality, right? It's being fair. They're not equitable. So that's what the basis of law is. It's equity, right? It's to be balanced. Okay, the balances are meant to be even, and they're not even, right? So that's what we need to, I think, focus on. But people know it inside. People know inside, the ones that love truth, because that's what the battle is now. It's they who love the truth. Okay, it says that they love not the truth, that they could be saved. So God sends them a solution, right? So there's the ones that don't love the truth, which means there's the ones that do. Okay, the ones that do love the truth, whether they're a believer in this, that they might even be, a full atheist, but they know that what's happening is wrong and it's a lie, and they know that truth is important, and I really believe that God is finding out who those people are, because what I've seen has been the people that I was relatively close to. Many of them have become like vile in their attack on people that love the truth. They call them names. They say, your kid should be taken off you, things like this. And you think, wow, I never even knew that was inside you to say something like that. You're irresponsible. I'm ashamed of you. I can't believe I was your friend. And then you get the other people that they might not even have a belief in the Bible, yet they're saying, I know what you're saying is true, and I'm with you, and and you go, wow. So it's certain people that actually have that in their heart. It's coming out. Because people have to pick a side. So those people that were on the right side, okay, they're the ones that are, you might not have even known, and they're just coming out now. The fruit's coming out. And those that were on the other side, even though they might have had a face of being a good, equitable, decent man or woman, many of those are on the left. They're attacking the people that care about the truth.
Well, let's dive into this one because this is going to be applicable to you and your special police powers over there. Okay. So let's get into this Stonewall. Let's do this. I'd like to know, under this so-called emergency, how to fight state statutes or local ordinances under the so-called emergency. I don't even think they're applicable. So first off, let's do away with the idea that martial law is coming. Martial law's here. Okay. This is proven by the fact that when a police officer, policy enforcer pulls you over, he is armed to the teeth and he is trained to kill you. Okay. He is there to give you a fee. There's no witness. There's no injured party. And there's nothing there. Nobody's made a claim. He's pulled you over. Okay. All right. That's the end of that discussion there. The reason that we're at a constant state of national emergency is, let's see if I can do this. Let's see if it'll work. Let's see. I might even have it up on my computer. So give me a second, guys. Let's see. I was just yeah, here we go. Is this it? Yeah. So yeah, it is. Hey, wow. Check that out, guys. How about that? I actually had something up on my computer about this question. So listen, we've been in a constant state of national emergency since 1933. And as a matter of fact, even Abraham Lincoln's 1862 national emergency still in effect. And what it is, and we're just going to read from Congressman Beck speaking from the congressional record states, I think of all the damnable heresies that have been suggested in connection with the Constitution. The doctrine of emergency is the worst. It means that when Congress declares an emergency, there is no Constitution. So this whole idea that we operate under rule of law is not true. What we operate under is the lex mercatoria, and it's the rule of contracts. Okay, and it is a corporate mask, de facto mask over what looks to you like a de jure government. And so what happens? They give special police powers. They give special health powers. But again, it's paper tigers with no teeth. All you have to do is keep digging through the crap and then know who you are, and then call the paper tigers out for the bull crap right then. And listen, I can't help. We were born into this time, and like Brother Nick just said, what is happening is a clear separation here. We'll take this down, and I'll tell you what, guys. This is one good deal here about chapter 11, James Traficantis and the national emergencies, and every year they're put back in. And of course, Senate Report 93549. A majority of the people in the United States have lived all their lives under emergency rule. That would be all of us, by the way. Every single one of us has lived under emergency powers. That's why the primary resident, the president, signs everything into action by executive orders. Okay, this is where your governors get this idea that they can go mandate and everything, and they presume that everybody out there is a corporation, and they must oblige because they presume that you live in Washington, D.C. And by presuming that you live in Washington, D.C., they presume that you're a United States citizen. A United States citizen is a federal corporation, and that means you're a subject slave to the primary corporation, which is whatever. It's the Crown, Vatican, wherever you decide to take it. There's this, but anyway, Unidrot, UCC run. So what we do, they keep giving police these special powers, right? And as they continue to do that, these truly ignorant come up and commit crimes against us. Well, we have to hold their feet to the fire. We got to start figuring out ways to make them pay. I'm trying the commercial lien process right now with Brother Gary. I'm trying a different process on Wally World. I'm going to go through the U.S. district courts. There has to be courts somewhere that run at the rule of law. And the reason why I say that is because their whole system, the whole system is built on equity. And the only difference is they only a small group of people know the rules to the game. And on that, they have to put everything in writing what is equitable. That's why people don't understand why trannies and everything else get the same treatment in law. through their system because it's equitable. And it's the end perversion of a perverted nightmare. So I'm going to let you talk now, buddy. Let me get this screen off. There we go. I hope that answers your question.
Well, I did a lesson. Sorry, mate. I did a lesson a couple of weeks ago on the Fabian Socialists. I don't know if you know much about them. I assume you would, but they're basically their whole plan to because they're the ones that they created the International, I think, Court of Justice in I think it's in the Hague. It might be the Hague. But they were the one. They were the ones that started the even just the idea of a Labor Party in Britain, which is connected to the Labor Party in Australia, which is connected to the Democrat Party in the US. It's all the same. It's all the same thing. I know that because I was in the Liberal Party. Now, Liberal Party means liberty. It's the Conservative Party in Australia. It just happens to be called Liberal. It's an old party, and I was involved as a delegate there, right? So even though it's called Liberal, it's not a leftist one. It's on the right, right? But we had people from the Republican Party during the election from the US helping, right? So it's all connected, right? I got to see a lot, learn a lot, and I ended up getting kicked out of the state council as a delegate because I tried to run a policy motion through the party to open up child abuse cases that implicated politicians, and they threw me out. They got security to get me out. So they're filth. It's evil. But the Fabian Socialists, they're the left-leaning sort of power. They were behind the League of Nations, the UN. They use a system, and you talked about this earlier, but they use this system called gradualism, political gradualism, which is where they gradually wear people down. That's the way that they cause us to become weak. They can put us into a weakened state, and then when we become weak enough, that's when they push really, really hard. So we can see that now. So they did a mandatory vaccine questionnaire sort of on the mainstream media, on all their platforms, asking. That's the Fabian Socialists, right? And they didn't get the numbers. People were voting against it. And people didn't want mandatory vaccines. People didn't want the to bring in a vaccine for. So there was more. So what they did is they went, all right, we're going to extend the lockdown for another 12 months in Victoria. So that and I've been trying to explain to people what they're doing is they want to wear you out a bit more. They want to wear you out for it. So another 12 months, and then you'll probably, a lot of people go, you know what, I'll just get the vaccine, and they will acquiesce their rights. Okay. You can't be those people. So you see here, you've got your you see the dualistic men that are building a new world, so this is the window of Fabian Socialist headquarters. It's in a museum now, and it used to be the main window. You see how there's one man that's got red. He's got red clothing and green shoes. You've got another man that's got green clothing and red shoes. That's showing you that the people this world are the two polarizations. You've got your left and rights, your people on one side and people on the other. They're both being used to create this new world, both of them. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. They are both being used to create the world, the complete opposites. That's what the whole politics thing is. It's a battery charge, right? They've got the left and the right, negative, positive, and it's the energy, and they're harnessing the energy like a battery to create a new world. And then you've got underneath here, you've got all these people worshipping down the bottom. They're worshipping the Fabian Socialist writings. That's what that's represent. You've got above that world that's being created by these two. You've got a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is, we know what the Bible says about that. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves, right? That's who these people are. Well, our opposition leader at the federal level, he's a member of the Fabian Socialist Society. I would assume that our premier who's a Labor politician, also a member of this, the Fabian Socialist organisation, and they're they've been. I mean, it's really clear they've been using this gradualistic tactic of wearing people down for a long time. You know, they push you a little bit and then they lock it up. And then but what they've done, and I can tell you for a fact, so those that know that know a little bit about politics, oh yeah, my you have trouble finding my. I only just started my my YouTube channel, so it's not that many people on there. And John 8 is just hundreds of thousands of things in John 8. But I learned because I was in the Liberal Party during the election against the Labor Party in our state. The Liberal Party, which remember they're not lefties, they're on the right. They literally just they deliberately lost the election, and I saw it with my own eyes. I thought, why would they do that? You know, why would they? You know, they talk it up. They say that we're going to win, we're going to beat Labor, we're going to, you know. And this is when I was naive back then. I believed that, you know, what the words that were coming out of their mouth. But remember, they're wolves in sheep's clothing, right? And then I discovered that the party that I was, which is the Liberal Party, which is the same as the Republicans, right? They deliberately lost the election, and the way they did that was we have preferential voting. I don't know if you know what that is, Brandon. Do you have preferential voting in the US?
I don't know because I've never voted.
Okay, so preferential voting is good man. Preferential voting is where you basically all the small minor parties they run candidates in different electorates so that they can swap votes. So my votes will go to you here, but your votes go to me here. And there were all the preferential voting that the Liberal Party had. On the day the preferences closed, they pulled the pin on all of them, which forced all of those minor parties to preference with Labor. And then there was this what they call a swing where the Labor Party just annihilated it. And I saw them do that. So then I realized, well, they've done it on purpose. The party, and then you know, like all of those quotes that I'd heard, you know, they're both different wings of the same bird. And I went, okay. But I didn't learn from just hearing people say it. I had to go through it and be in it 4 years to realize. So sometimes some people learn faster. It took me a while, but that's what they are. So that's when you see in this image the red guy and the green guy with the red shoes. They're both using the energy. Say on the right, you've got people that are about conservative values, right? They're against abortion. They're against these. Well, the party on the right, just their job is to make sure that they're not effective at keeping the that they're not effective in their actions. On the right, on the left, that party, their job is to make sure that their people are really effective at what they're doing, and that's what's happening. So the left and right thing it's just a game. It's not real. And this window from the Fabian study shows that, because you've got the dualism there with those two men creating that world. That's what that means. That's why you've got the duality there. Okay, people on both sides are building that world. They're both building the world. And there's probably a lot more meaning to that, but that's what I see in there, and that's what I've experienced as a Liberal delegate and as a Senate delegate in the Liberal Party in Victoria. I experienced, I saw it. I know. I can't. I'm not going to say that it's not so, because it is. They're definitely working together, and we're seeing it all come to fruition. We've got we've got both sides of the government. Even though one will give lip service and call out the other, they don't do anything. It's all just words, but it's not real. They're flattering words, but they have no effect because they're not real. There's no action behind it.
Yeah, and what I want to say, I want to give a little commentary too on the Fabian socialism for those that don't get it right. So religion is the opiate of the masses. Okay, this is why everybody gets trapped in religion. This is why Nick, being coming from a church atmosphere, was hungering for more. There's something missing. For the true seeker, they know something's just not right with this cookie cutter deal, and but they know this. They know this. This is why the religion serves as a gatekeeper for most people to go get stuck and stay in that one spot and never change. And of course, we'll look at the Fabian socialism sign over here. It says remold it near to the heart's desire. So their heart's desire, is to control, mold the entire world. That's why you have the left and the right beating the hammer, right? And of course, you look at the red guy. He looks like a little socialist from Russia. You have the purple and gold guy in the background fanning the flames. He's the one heating. That's the royal class. Then you have the 10 with the thing is 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in between the middle pillars. So that's 11. And then you got 3 on top, 33. You got pray devoutly, hammer stoutly. By praying is the thought. And then it's manifest into reality by the action. And we'll read Matthew 8:13, go thy way, and thou hast believed, so it be done unto thee. And this is as you have believed, so be it, right? The problem with today, they have cast a web over the minds of the masses. And what is sad, and it's the saddest thing that I witness, is that most people don't want to know. Most people are stuck in their delusion. They're happy in their delusion. That's like right now, the whole football thing, right? Just people are going to say, oh, man, at least they're letting us play football this year, right? Man, letting you play football, they have, I look at this world and I go, man, just how much, because I used to be one of those guys, we got to wake up everybody, but it's impossible. You're not waking up everybody. You've got to learn to live with that. Live with the fact that your whole family's not going to wake up. They're still going to believe 9/11 was real. They're going to believe that the Patriot Act was good for you. They're going to believe that overall government's looking out for you and just wants to help you. These ideas that want to be false. But here's the thing that I wanted to say too. The sad part, and this, and anybody who's studied enough knows this, you get to a point to where you don't have to rely on the subjective anymore. These people, the rulers, the rulers are wannabe rulers because they don't rule me anymore, have written down everything they ever planned to do to us. Everything. Not one thing was ever done that wasn't written down and told to us beforehand that they were going to do it. And that just goes to show you the power of most men and women who in the delusion that they choose to live under it. It is a choice. It is a choice, and they choose to live in that delusion.
Yeah, well, that's you always say. You always quote that that Proverbs, I think 18 verse 21. Power of life and death is in the tongue, or in the words. It's in the words.
Yeah.
And they give us full disclosure. They always give us full disclosure because there's power in that. Because he told us that, and we obviously, you look at Numbers chapter 30. If you but the claim, and so they make the claim, they show you, and if you don't rebut it, you've agreed. That silent acquiescence. That's happening en masse, and I've seen it. Like I remember watching. Now I don't even have a TV. I watched it from TV on the internet, and someone shared it was a Tucker Carlson clip of him talking with the governor of New Jersey, right? And what I noticed in it was Tucker Carlson says like, well, and they gave full disclosure, right? He asked him, where do you get the power to override the Constitution? And the governor didn't answer. He just kept talking. And then he asked him again the second time. He made the second demand. He said, look, but I want to know, where you get the power over. And then he just kept talking and made the same, but he answered the question. He asked him, he gave him the third demand. Where, you need to tell me where, and then he didn't do it. It was 3 times. I noticed it was 3 times. I went, they've just given us full disclosure on this Fox News thing that they don't have power to do what they're doing. But you have to know what you're looking at. So I knew what I was looking at. I knew that if you make 3 demands and they don't respond, they have agreed that with you, right? And they just but they, so rather than going, oh no, we don't have power to do this. It is unlawful. No, they do it in a way that we don't understand because we haven't sought that knowledge. But the knowledge is available. You just got to go searching through. You do a lot of reading, and you realise that if there's 3 demands that have been unanswered, that is their acquiescence. So say, for instance, they don't have power to because they're the only ones that are subject to that constitution anyway. It's the governors and the people that are in the government. It's not the men and women. But so I noticed that they are giving full disclosure, but they're just doing it in a way that people don't understand or comprehend because we've been deceived. I mean, he deceives all the while. We are deceived. All of us are deceived on some level, I think the most important thing to overcome that deception is to realise you've been deceived firstly, and then you've got to realise, well, what do I know is right and wrong? What do I actually know? Hold firm to that, and everything else you've got to kind of make it, not be so solid in your mind, because you have to be able to. Because what happens if you've got something in your mind that you hold to be true, then you put something that contradicts it, and you hold that to be true. What would that cause in your mind? Well, it's going to cause conflict, because you can't have them both. It'd be like saying, I believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, but I believe that the Quran is also the word of God. Well, how can you either are ignorant of what's in that, or you're having a psychotic episode, because you can't hold 2 facts that are completely contradictory at the same time. But you can see, like I've tried to before, and it actually makes me a bit angry. And I think that's because mix an acid and a base. What happens? It doesn't work. It doesn't flow. It doesn't feel right. So we've got to recognise what's happening, what principles they're following, which is the lex mercatoria. And that's why I always say to people, if your business has been shut down, ask them for liability, to accept liability. When they say, when you get an admission not accepting liability, either be through their silence and not answering the question directly, okay, or they might even say, we're not accepting liability. That's it. You just keep operating. They're not gonna be able to win that if they would take you to court. If they take you to court, they've got to establish jurisdiction anyway. It's not like you apply for the court. If you apply to court, you're bowing down. That's what apply means, right? You get dragged into court for some reason, and I still have not been dragged into court. I haven't paid toll fines. I haven't paid parking. I haven't paid any of these things for years. I get sent letters, but I send them back letters, and I send them demand letters, asking them to provide the evidence to verify their claim. And they 3. I always use that. I always give them 3 demands. And when they refuse to answer the questions, that's it. And then they continue to send me letters, but I just send them back because I've given them the equitable opportunity to provide evidence, and they haven't. And I've never been taken to court for doing that. So if you follow the lex mercatoria principles against them, okay, that's how you become free from their system. And the reason we have to become free from their system is because we were brought up into their system, and the enemy bound us in their chains and fetters because of our ignorance. Now we've just got to learn how to use it. And it's not that hard to learn how to use it. Asking questions is that hard if you've got questions to ask. Conditionally accepting, staying in honour. These are the things that we need to learn, and it takes time to learn it. But it depends on how much effort you want to put to it. Because like you said, like with football, right? Some people just want to play football. they just want to play football. I get it. They just want to have fun. It depends on what your perception in the world is, right? And what life is. I know that this life's not really about just fun, because this world is a time for us to prepare and prepare our minds, and like you believe it's the confidence that we take with us if we're found worthy. So if we can look at the bigger things and realize that this is a much bigger battle, and if you want to be in the battle, so say I want to be fighting, okay, well, the first thing you got to do to be fighting in the battle is to learn how do we learn how to fight against this beast? Well, you've got to learn what their trickery is. Be wise as serpents. What does that mean? It means to be wise to the serpents, their trickery. If we're wise to that, then we can start to fight against it, become free ourselves, and then help other people, show people with your, like I've shown people, I haven't paid tax for years, and they go, oh, don't say that too loud, you might get in trouble. No, I've dealt with the tax department.
What did they hear?
All the time. Yeah, I know, right? And that's fair. It's like, no, don't be scared of them. If you've asked the right questions, and it doesn't mean that it's always going to go your way, and that the enemy's always going to stand in honor. They don't, because they do send. And like you said once when we had a chat on the phone, you said they will. The people above will throw the people below under the bus. It's happening now. I give an example. The police are arresting people for not wearing masks. They're arresting people for not giving their names, because they want to give them a fine. So they want your name. So common law right you've got a common law right to not speak, because you're not engaged in contract. You're only obligated to speak when you're engaged in that contract, right? So with the common law, so the common law right is if the police come up to you and they say something, you don't have to talk to them. But what they've done is they've worked that out where they can go, yeah, well, we have reasonable suspicion that you've committed an offence because you're not wearing a mask. And if you don't give us your name, we will arrest you. And they are arresting people. So this is happening all the time, right? But the thing is, if you look at the legislation that they are meant to follow, it says that they can request your name and address if they believe reasonably have committed an offence, but they have to be able to reasonably explain their suspicion in fact, or they need to provide the facts, explain the facts that form their belief, and it can't be hearsay. So I've taught people this, and what we've found is the police don't care. They just go, no, you have to give us your name. And they are arresting people, and they're using force. And even though people are, and they're saying, section 458 of the Crimes Act, you have to give us your name. Then you say, yeah, but that same section, 458 of the Crimes Act, says you have to reasonably be able to explain, in fact, and the facts that formulate your belief. So please provide that. And they don't. They arrest people and handcuff them. So that's what's happening now. And, most are ignorant, but there's a lot that aren't. And if you become aware of that and you know it, now you can start to fight against them. Because most people that get arrested like that would just go, oh, well, that happened. And then they would then tell everybody, oh, it doesn't matter. Police were just arrested. But if you know what the truth is, to task on it, you can send a letter to the police commissioner, and you could say, we're going to hold these officers liable, or you're going to have to pay us some money. And I know it sounds like kind of a bit corrupt to ask for money, but it's the only way to make them accountable. It's not really any other way, because this Lex Mercatoria system we're in is all about money, right?
It is.
You have to do that. And my wife my wife explained it really well. She said, if you just let these people walk all over you, you are becoming the salt that's lost its savour. And it's thenceforth good for nothing, only to be trodden under the foot of men. Don't let men trot all over you. You have to stand up for that reason.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And so that's really that's where you come to the power, right? You come to the power, and unfortunately, many men don't recognize that the only thing that you can make these corporations fear is money. That's what the system operates on. That's the only thing that can end the perpetuity of this corporation. Now, so I want to explain this too. Let me understand why money is so important, because the corporation runs in perpetuity. Okay, it's a corporation, soul, whatever. It's the paper thing. It's the little Jackie paper from the dragon, right? So it can run forever. It can live forever in that fiction world. The only way that you can stop it from operating is to drain its sources. And the only way you can do that is take money from it. And the only thing these people respect is liability. That's why Nick said earlier, I wrote out the liability deal, the mask liability thing, and shared it with y'all months ago. And a few people have used that. A few people have used that very successfully, not only at their work, but at places, saying, hey, I'll wear a mask. Yeah, it's going to cost you. And are you accepting liability? No. What do you mean? But you learn these tactics over time. And what happens is you become much stronger and much more dedicated to not allow these people to trample over the top of you, because that is the point, right? If they can go booga, 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 boo, and you consent, well, you just gave up. You've left the battlefield first. And, when you leave that battlefield, you've lost. And that's why it is vitally important to know the scriptures, right? He who shall endure shall be saved. That is vitally important to understand that you're in. That's why it uses the belligerent claimant uses war talk, right? You've got to become belligerent. You got to become just will not accept. Let me pray you. Let me not, I pray you, accept the persons of men, nor give men flattering titles. That's Job 32:21. Another one of my favorite verses, right? And that's just, I will not accept the persons of men as me. That's not me. And the only things that have to wear masks are corporations. That's why it's vitally important over here. I don't know if y'all have that. I meant to ask you that. Did you see where I found in Louisiana and Texas code that an affidavit that denies a corporation is the only way that you can go to United States District Court and be heard as a living man? Do y'all have anything like that over there in Australia, Nick?
You know what? I don't know, because the court system is a little bit different over here. It operates under the same rules, but it's how they set things up. The trickery is a little bit different. I'm not highly skilled with the courts, and I think because we've been really all of the stuff that I've done has been via notice and via phone calls to people where I record the phone calls, send them notices saying I spoke to whoever it was, and they said this and this and this, and that's always been enough for me. Whether it be paying debts with promissory notes, because we've done lots of that. We've paid out a lot of debts with our promissory note. We paid out all of our debts with promissory notes. Paying my water bill and my power bills. I don't pay the water bill, power bills with another process where you use your birth certificate, and they haven't. No one's taken me to court, so I haven't needed to. So I think I'll learn that when I need to. There are some things I do need to go to court for, but I'm not sure. I did talk about that, and I thought that would be something worth pursuing if you could, because you're saying that you're stating in an affidavit, obviously signed by a notary public, that you're establishing your standing. Is that right? As a living man, then you need to go to a specific district court to be heard as a man, because the others won't hear you as a man. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I've been told, and we're about to find out by personal experience, is that the local and state level are kangaroo courts, non-courts of record. They're summary courts. Okay. And what I mean by that, they can strike from the record at any time and just give you a summary of what was said in there, and they can give you whatever summary they want. It is at the U.S. District Court level where you can start getting into this real law, separate it from the equity and do law. But we're going to find out. But when I found these ideas, so this just went back. So the spoken word flies away, the written word remains. That's why the Bible's so vitally important. Okay, and the affidavit, it stands as truth and judgment in commerce. You know this. That's why I just so nobody knows here yet. I beat the Iowa Department of Revenue for my dad here recently. Also, I may, if my dad doesn't mind his personal information being out there, I may share it. I may not. But this process works over and over again. I posted it up here a little while ago. The first notice to levy that I receive is forwarded, met with. They always give you statements or proposals. Everything's a statement. Well, anybody can make a statement. Where's the evidence corroborating the statement that makes it a bill, right? Is it a true bill in commerce? Is there receipt for damages? Have I entered into contract with you at any point in time? Produce me the negotiable instrument. And from there, let's work forward. And of course, they can never produce these things. These things don't exist, folks. So once you know that these things don't exist, you start using it against them. And really, it gets back to the quote from Albert Einstein, which is the weirdest thing of all things, right? You have to learn the rules of the game. So each and every one of us is never taught the rules. That's our problem, right? We're never even taught the rules to the game. And then once you learn the rules, you have to learn to play better than them. And the reason why we play better from our perspective is because we do remain in honor. We do have a moral compass, and we are on the side of righteousness. And on that side of righteousness, you have the full and spiritual backing of the Father. And these devils that dressed in black do have no power over you.
That is exactly what it is. Because you've got the power of truth on your side. It's not that hard to just speak the truth. And if you stay in honor and your actions are equitable and honorable, you don't need to memorize lies. You don't need to come up with trickery. It's logic around on what the truth is. They're the ones that are trying. And plus, they're not playing the game against people that know the game. You know, they're playing the game for the most part over people that don't know the game. That's why they win all the time. It's like if I was getting ready for a fight, you know, or a tough fight coming up in the ring, and I've only been sparring with just bums that are no good. Okay, I'm not going to be very good at my game. You know, it's like if you're playing a sport and you're playing your sport against you're doing practice games to get you ready for the actual real games. If you're not playing against good competition, you're not going to get good at the game, right? You need that. You know, what's the proverb? You know, iron sharpens iron. You know, I don't think that they're doing that. They're used to just being right and tricking people and people being ignorant. But when you're not ignorant, they can lose their confidence very quickly because you can make them accountable. And they realize that. Well, I'm going up against a worthy opponent, and I might get burned here. I might get hurt. So, you know, learning the truth about things, the way that you become, you can get into the battle, into the fight. For those that want to get into the fight, that's what you've got to do. You've got to learn what the battlefield is. And, you know, obviously your mind's the battlefield, but if you put there's a game that they're playing, that's their trickery. If you understand their trickery, which is this Lex Mercatoria, this mystery Babylon religion, and it's a religion. If you look at like the building in Melbourne, it's a great big pagan temple. It's got an inner court, it's got the holy place in the middle, it's got the outer walls. That's what it is. Right? You look at these robes they're wearing, and there's all these different types of robes at different courts, you know, and you know, they wear these wigs, and they go, oh, it's just what they wear. It's a fashion. No, it's not. It's a religion. This is a religion. I spoke to a friend yesterday. He was over for dinner with us, and he's translating. He's doing his own translation of the Bible himself from the Aramaic. Right? He's a smart fella, and I was showing him all this stuff, and he said, "But isn't it just what they wear, or what is?" And I showed him to the point where he goes, "You know, it's a religion. I said, yeah, it's a religion. These religious people, and it's a dark religion. It's a religion. They worship these things, you know, and that's why their buildings are made into temples. I mean, that's why you got the White House with that big Washington Monument thing there, and then you look at the Vatican's built exactly the same. It's got the feminine structured building. I think it's St. Peter's Basilica or something. I can't remember what it's called. And then you've got the big phallic symbol opposite, and then you've got the same thing. I think in the city of London. So you got these points there. And you go, well, why? Why are they there? Ask questions. The same thing you do when you're in any interaction. You got to ask the questions. If you're not asking questions, then you're not thinking. You got to ask a question to think. Why is that? What is that? Who put that there? What's the reason for it? You know, those that think ask. They ask the questions. So anyway, that's something that that I find very interesting, is looking at the religious component to it. And when you look at it like it's a religion, it gives you an idea of what their mindset is. It's not this rigid thing that just is. It's like they say, you just got to pay your taxes. It's like, well, why? Why do you have to pay your taxes? Because the Bible doesn't say that, you know. And if I'm honest, I'm going to follow the Bible, right? The Bible says not to pay taxes. And then people go, oh, where does it say that? Oh, I'll show you. Do you really want to know? If you really want to know, I'm happy to show you. Or are you just telling me, oh, where's that? And you're being arrogant. If you're being honest and you really want to know, I'll show you where it says that. I'll show you the verses. And then some people, they go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. And then what's the next thing after that? It's, well, now that I know that, well, how do I not pay tax? You've got to ask the question, how? Okay, you're going to, how do I not do it? I'm in a trap. Well, now you've got to learn you've got to be as wise as a serpent now and work out what their trickery is. And then once you've worked out their trickery, then you've got to have the confidence to stand on the word of God. And you know, you can't quit halfway, because then you'll be a liar. That'll be bearing false witness. You've got to endure to the end. Otherwise, you'd be agreeing with the false claim.
Yeah. And so I want to answer this right now for everybody in here. I just great deal. So I'm going to share this up here. I want to show you this, guys. That's why it's so important to define everything that you think you know. So this 13 U.S. Code 221. This is why, Kelly, this is why she asked you if you were refusing. Okay, she's trying to set you up. We never refuse. We conditionally accept. Or we give them the exemption. So we're gonna read this. This is the law that they're quoting, that you can get a $100 fine, okay? Or if you give false answers, you can get a $500 fine. I'm gonna read this. Number C with you. Notwithstanding any other provision of this title, no person shall be compelled to disclose information relative to his religious beliefs or to the membership in a religious body. Hey, folks, I don't answer Caesar's questions. Plain and simple. This is about the census in America right now, the big push. I don't answer Caesar's questions. Caesar's been an enemy of my Messiah since the beginning, and I will render under Caesar everything's his. Nothing living in this house is his. This is a living man's home. This ain't a piece of paper. This is no corporation. What Caesar's is Caesar's. Get on down the road, folks. And so they will try to entrap you. So look, I want to read this. I want to put this up. She says she will be sending someone. I said, next time I'll serve you with my nudes and fees to contract with me. There you go, Kelly. That's what I'm talking about. Serve them. Hey, guys, this is what it's about, right? This is putting power. I'm so thankful for Brother Nick and other people that we've just been able to. I'm going to tell you guys, when I got into the Bible study 3 years ago, I had no idea this was where I was going to end up. At the point in time, I was probably number one Jew basher in the world. Right, that was the only thing I focused on. But that's a stage you have to go to. Also, I'm thankful, guys. I'm thankful so many of y'all are picking this up. It's so great. Hey, listen, we're getting long in the tooth here, Nick. You want to close out with some ending thoughts and some prayers? This old boy's getting tired right here.
Yeah, look, I love that there's people that do love the truth, and that's how you become his. Is you have to love the truth. Can't be saved if you don't love the truth, because they love not the truth that they can be saved. God sends them a strong delusion, so that's what you get, you know. So those that love the truth, whether they're believers or not, they kind of are believers because they believe in the truth, and that's what we're going to be looking for. The greatest, you know, I guess the fruit of the righteous is coming out, and I think this time is going to make us, those that want it, it's going to make us greater, and those that don't want it, it's going to make them less. You can see that with the vision. So, you know, choose you this day who you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Well, you know what? I'm going to serve God because I love God. I love the Creator, and I love the truth. You know what? Who cares what happens in this life? As long as you're standing in equity and truth and in honor, then it doesn't matter. If you've been fair and you've been honest, you've been honourable, and you've not relinquished your rights, you haven't lied and deceived, and you've made and when you have, you repent, you acknowledge your fault. If you can do that in this life, you know what? The enemy's got no real power over you.
That's right,
other than what the Creator allows him to have. Okay?
Yeah.
You've just got to believe that. Did you want me to say a prayer, or did you want to say the prayer?
I'm going to let you say the prayer, but I want to ask a question. That way we have it on record, and I can get this ding dong head. What time is it over there where you are right now?
It's 12:30 p.m.
It's 12:30 p.m.
Yeah, p.m. So afternoon.
Oh, okay. So it was a perfect time for us to get together. We could have done a little bit earlier. Would it have been a little bit better, about 6 o'clock in the afternoon? My time?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you close us out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you close our prayer out, brother. Hey, Nick, we're gonna have to do this again. We'll try to get the internet connection back going. But brother, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. It's been a pleasure. And get that YouTube channel up, and I'll get you shared, brother.
Yeah, I just shared it with you. It's going, but I've just shared it with you. So if you can share that around, great. You know, I don't expect you to do that, but if you want to, that's fine. I've got a website as well. But mate, I love what you do, because you have definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it was one that was sharing the biblical connections of the law the way you were, and that's why I've resonated with it. And I actually saw you on Richie from Boston, and I don't watch Richie from Boston really that much. I was every now and then, but I saw you on there, and I was like, I've got to like this guy's page and subscribe. So it's definitely been something that I think, you know, God brings people together because He wants us to come together. You know, you've got something. You're a messenger. That's what you know, Malak or an angel. That's what it is. We're messengers. We've got a message, and anyone can be a messenger. That because God made us to be. We speak. We're all made to reflect light. Let your light so shine. Well, if you've got light to shine, then you're a messenger, because the light's synonymous with the truth. So I want to thank you for all the work you do, because I think that you're doing one of the greatest services to people like myself, because you've given us a resource and a place where we can go, oh, that's the bit I couldn't find. And you've been this longer than I have, you know. So I'm just coming into it now, but we all have different perceptions, you know. So I really appreciate that, brother, and for your time as well, and doing this.
No, it's honors all mine. I definitely appreciate the vote of confidence. It is and anything that comes from me is the works were the Father's, right? I had to let go of ego to get there. And thank you so much, brother. Go ahead.
Our Father in heaven, we love you. We're grateful that you care for us and you love you. You've put truth and a desire and a will for truth in our hearts and in our minds. Father, we pray that you'll give us more of a will and more of a desire to stand up firm for the truth and to be aware of the battlefield and where it is. We pray that you'll cast stumbling blocks before our enemies. They'll fail at anything they seek to do against you and against against your people, and that you'll uplift us and reveal to us your mysteries and help us to know who we are, what we are, why we are, and give us the power to help others to do likewise. In Yeshua's name we pray.
Yes, brother. Hey, man, we're gonna do this again real soon. We might make this because this was a great conversation. I really thoroughly enjoyed going back and forth with you. The banner. Hey, listen, guys. It's very rare that I meet someone a mind where before we started, I was like, man, I just usually go off the hoof. And brother Nick right here went off the hoof. There's no notes or anything anywhere. We just flowed where the conversation went. And I want to thank you for doing such a wonderful job with that, Nick. Very impressed, brother, and have a blessed day. Hey, all you guys out there in YouTube land, thank y'all for getting through this. Hey, listen, folks, the video's not the deal here. Put your headphones in, listen to the content. This isn't for show or for looks or anything else. Yes, the audio skips a little bit. The audio is not going to match Nick's face. He's probably 4,000 miles away from us, but the technology has given us the ability to converse and have fellowship with someone all clear around the world, and we want to be thankful for that. And guys, thank y'all for coming. Much love to you. Brother Nick, hit me up soon. We're going to do this again.
Thank you, brother.
All right, guys, y'all take it easy. All right, let's see.